Good morning to all of you. My name is Siddhesh Shirsekar, and I'm currently working with Viva Institute of Applied Art as an assistant professor. Uh, Today is a wonderful day for me because I am a JJite and I have done my graduation and post-graduation from Sir JJ Institute of Applied Art. So it gives me immense pleasure to present a paper in my institute or organized by my institute. Um, Before starting with my presentation, I would like to say that my project or my research is majorly targeted towards the students because this was my graduation project during my BFA. And I further extended uh, during my post-graduation and further. Before starting again, I would also like to appreciate or thank Professor Santosh Shirsagar, who supported me during my research and for all the small areas where I found difficulties, he was always there during the project. I'll be going from these following contents as we process towards the research or the paper. Communication happens when or it is like when two people talk to each other. It can be an interpersonal, intrapersonal, or a mass communication. So we being into visual communication field, it is very important that we talk to each other. Uh, those who don't know what is Braille, Braille is a script which is used by blind people, or I'll not say blind, but I'll say sightless people who are specially abled. Okay, and typography, as we know, it's an arrangement of typefaces. Combination of these two is the core content of my research paper. Uh, as Mr. Gangadhar sir did a wonderful presentation on word picture. So that was a pretty like a relief for me for a word picture concept. And the vision or the project, it is recently nominated for the National Award for the 2018. And this project is divided into different sections. Like we have books, we have lessons in it. So each and every book is a research paper or can be a paper in itself. So this is one of the subjects from that book that I'll be presenting today. The main objective of this book was to provide an educational study material for the children from kindergarten to 7th standard. So it might be a surprising stuff because the basic study material that we used to learn was only limited to 1st standard, 2nd standard, or I'll say 1st grade to 3rd grade. But this book is also functional till 7th grade because they keep on have to learn their basics along with their new syllabus. Their syllabus, every time when I'm referring they are the sightless children. Uh, the sightless children, they have two syllabus. One is the sensory and one is the normal syllabus, that's the practical syllabus. So in sensory learning, this is a very important way of learning because every time they have to learn, for example, A is for apple, then they have to touch the apple and smell the apple so that, the sensory learning happens. But eventually it is not possible for all objects. For example, E for elephant. With respect to proportions, it is very difficult for them to teach them how an elephant look like, so how elephant, texture of the elephant it is. The main problem during my research came was they didn't have a concrete study material for learning A to Z. So being usual, we have different kinds of interactive games. We have different apps where we learn A for apple, B for ball, C for cat, and so on. But there was no such concrete material for them to learn. every time they have to feel the object, every time they have to depend on somebody to actually learn the basics. So to provide a study basic material was the goal of my project. Initially, after the initial part of my paper, I had read in 2016 in Typography itself, and I had further extended my project, which is I'll be presenting today. So after the basic, then once the children are very much familiar with the objects which are there in the book itself, using the existing objects which I'll be showing you further, or the pictograms that I have designed using Braille script, they are going to learn the different stories that we have. The approach was very challenging because initially the paper that I was using was a Braille paper that they had, that is 100 GSM in thickness. It is very thin paper. But due to durability stuff, it was very difficult for them to maintain that embossed structures or embossed script, because over the years they used to they read it and use it, so the script becomes blunt. So changing the surface was the main, I'll say, that was the first task. I used 120 GSM, that is a little bit more thick and laminated sheet, and the process was further divided into, I made metal dyes and nylon, that is positive and negative, to make that stuff or the content more visible and more durable. So this is an experiment in which we had done the prototype, and it was a successful one because we compared. In the orange, you can see it is the PVC sheet, and in the black you can see the fine paper, that is the existing paper of the Braille that they use in schools. And it was observed that as we go towards the higher grades, the durability time required was less, which was a good thing for our project. The basic stuff that we derived was, this is a very important slide in which we derived the artworks from the visual kids, the children who have vision. Because even if somebody tells me to draw an apple today, I'll be either drawing an apple, the graphic form of the apple. Many of them will remember the Apple logo, or you have different objects. So the basic stuff was, first we did was we took an art competition or an art workshop in which we derived different forms. Here I have shown the form of house. So after deriving the basic form of house, a house is a combination of triangles, squares, and different basic shapes and forms. Converting into a graphic form, and then by replacing those outline with Braille. That was the process that we followed for all the book, throughout the book. And once the first initial part of the book is being completed, then the child is very familiar with those objects, with those pictograms, and then he'll start reading the book on his own. Further, I'll be showing a small video in which how they are going to learn on their own, as well as how they require their teacher or their mentor while during their processing stage. The morphological analysis is once the basic structures are derived. We all have, for the students I'm asking, we all have the drilling lessons that we had during our first years and second years during our academics, like slanting lines, leaping lines, the triangles, squares, the shapes, forms. So learning those first was the prime goal, which further gave me this. This is the contribution for the research paper, in which using the existing forms in the book, which they'll be learning during their first and second grade, and later using those forms itself, we composed storybooks. This is a story for rabbit and tortoise, as we know, Their existing storybooks are very big, very huge, and very lengthy. Every time they can't imagine. I mean, even if they read it, there's a lacuna because there is no picture in it. We all have comics books. We have colors. So forget about colors, but at least the reading part is very decreased because everything is in graphics, everything is in pictograms, which they have learned in their previous years. And using those existing pictograms, they are now imagining the beauty of the story. Coming back to the conclusion part, this book is providing an ease for them to learn, and it would be, I would be honored to say that this book is currently being used in Srimati Kamala Mehta School for Blind School, India, and they are teaching their students this book, from this book, and it is pretty helpful from them from 1st standard to 7th grade. It is a compilation of Roman alphabets as well, because there are 2 types of sightless people. Those who are completely blind and the second who are partially blind. So for the partial blind people, I have also incorporated ABCD that we use in that book also, because in the future they'll be requiring the script, the Roman script for further communication also. Being the storybook being condensed, it is saving a lot of paper. Eventually, it is a cost-effective project. And for this storybook, as I showed in the previous slide, that entire book I'll be publishing in this year. I have got the copyright and the further process. And it acts as a link between the Braille and the verbal illustration to talk and to unfold their imagination. Because imagination is it's the most important part during the learning phase. It might be a child, it might be an adult, and so on. I would like to thank Professor Siddhesh Shirsekar, Professor Sameep Sawan, and Dr. Siddhesh Shirsekar for supporting my project during the entire process. And definitely, I am doing a research further as well with respect to different aspects of my book itself. Yeah. I'll be showing you a small video. I won't get into much detail. It is just the process, how they are, the teachers teach their. This is the way in which, as you can see here, there is there is a Roman A that we use, and also it's a combination of the pictograms and the Braille. So this is the way the children learn on their own. And with initial stage, with the guidance of their professor or with the guidance of their teacher, they have been taught. Yeah, from the top view, you can see the book. So analyzing the form of that picture or the pictograms that we have designed using their existing Braille script was the catch of the project. So eventually it is very easy for them to learn because the Braille script is very close to them, because they learn, because every one of us are very close to their script. So using their existing script, I have designed this book. Thank you so much. Thank you.